What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the firewall, where we discuss the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who have made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
What up?
So you had an action-packed week. I keep saying that. Not as action-packed as last week, but thankfully, the whole Colonial Pipeline thing is behind us now, and hopefully we've learned from it, and we'll move on and do bigger and better things, or not, and then we'll discuss those things. So today is the discussion. So I usually try to find something, try to cause some controversy, but never turns out that way. So with this one, I found something I think we can all agree with / find our own little insights in this article, but it's written by the Threat Post. It is the pandemic and evolving IT demands are having a major negative impact on CISOs' mental health, a survey found. So this one is written by Becky Bracken. I'm the only one to receive an easy name this week. So in Becky's article, it talks about the extreme stress that's being put on chief information security officers, or CISOs, and how they're grappling with their coping mechanisms, ranging from all the way from workouts, which I can definitely get behind, to narcotics, because it's rough out there. Basically, all the stress is being caused, if you don't know, by all the data breaches, as well as people working from home. So there's some causation and correlation there, but the gist of it is we had to shift to working from home. We did the shift very fast, and it was up to CISOs and their teams to properly secure our systems, as well as hackers have a lot more time on their hands, and they got really good at their craft. So the breaches and ransomware have skyrocketed during the pandemic, and it is definitely wearing on those at some of the highest security positions. So it talked about the vast majority and how of those who were surveyed and how they handle their stress. It said something upwards of 80% were doing it through exercise, and then like the numbers don't add up to 100%, but it was like there's overlap there, right? So 80% said they do more exercise, 40% said meditation was a big help. Then 24% said self-medicating with drugs, alcohol, narcotics, and prescription medicines did it for them. So obviously, mental health is very important. The pandemic has worn on all of us in some regard, whether it be just the isolationism, or the fear of the unknown. But you don't want people to start doing drugs because they have to secure your network. So the stresses are definitely there. I thought it was a pretty interesting article. Whoops, I was knocking my laptop over for those of you listening on audio. I never thought about it. Like, I know people were drinking more during the pandemic because you had all those memes of the garbage men picking up cases of wine bottles and et cetera, which I saw personally before I left the States. Like you would see people's recycling bins full of Coors Light cases. People were getting it in during the pandemic, but those at some of the highest positions seem to be really getting it in, getting down with the prescription meds and whatnot to get over their anxiety. But let's get into it. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's one of those things that's kind of like, it is such a stressful job. I can imagine being a CISO. Your whole job is pretty much dedicated to making sure the company stays secure. And then you hear about these companies that get pretty much like smashed. They get like so compromised, they end up losing all the data, or they end up paying buku bucks. And you imagine like being that person in that position that you have to kind of like respond to that. You have to be you have to explain to somebody, explain to the CEO, explain to the chair members or whatever what went wrong, and maybe kind of how you potentially failed at your job. I guess it's like a kind of like a rough way to say it, but it's like you're in such a like a high, like such a really important role within the company, and everybody's looking at you to make sure that everything stays secure and that you're like leading the workforce and make sure you have the right plans and processes in place and that you're covering covering all your ends. Um, but I can imagine that being very stressful. You could potentially, if your company gets compromised enough and maybe somebody feels like you're not doing a good enough job, that they may end up kicking you out the door, may end up firing you because you let some ransomware get in there, or you let it like affect the company in such a dramatic way that they couldn't respond adequately. They didn't have like the right process in place and have the right security mechanism in place to prevent it. And also, we saw the whole thing with the Colonial Pipeline. That was you know that was a situation to say the least as far as how people responded. And just thinking like some big things like that would happen, that happened. And now they have to go back and do some forensic investigation and try to figure out what happened, where the infection got in, what could have prevented it from happening. And maybe if somebody wasn't doing their job properly, somebody that there was like an obvious, that was something so obvious that it should have been covered before the virus got in. But they were not paying attention, or they were just like, didn't think anything of it. So it's kind of one of those things that I can feel for CISOs, and even for us, we all have a little bit of a connection to the security industry. So it's like, I imagine being in that role and being like looked on to provide the leadership, security leadership for the company, and having all that pressure on your back just to make sure everything's up to snuff. But I mean, that's what people go to school for. People have experience. They go through their life, and when you get to that level, I think you probably should be pretty comfortable with your job and kind of know what you need to do to make sure that the company stays safe and that everything's in place. And I'm sure there's a lot of like guides and templates and manuals out there for constructing like a proper like security action plan or something to that effect to make sure that your company is secure and safe. But yeah, I think that's not my thoughts on it. But you have some thoughts on it as well, Shannon? What you think?
I always do. And so here's the thing. So here's the thing, right? So like this is a lesson that was taught to me when I was in the military and I was a supervisor, right? Document, right? So these CISOs, they can only recommend, right? They can only recommend to the companies, hey, this is what I think we should do. And if the companies don't want to do it, which a lot of the times they didn't, right? And we actually had one of our podcasts a couple months back, where it talked about how when COVID happened, companies were just like, okay, how do we get up quick, fast, and in a hurry, right? So we're just worried about getting up quick, fast, in a hurry because we're losing this much every day, we're losing this much every week, this much every month, right? So document. So these CISOs, if they're going to, again, I don't know their business structure, right? CIO, COO, CEO, whoever they report to, and saying, hey, this is what I think we should do because I think this will protect us in this landscape that we're now going through, right? And then bringing all these articles to say this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. This is why you got people under you, putting gas in trash bags, right? Because
Right.
the pipeline wasn't protected properly. Like you got to document all this stuff so that when they do come back and try to say, hey, you didn't help us out with this, be like, no, on this date, like I came to you and told you, and you told me to take this action. It may not save your job, but it should give you the peace of mind to know that you did all that you can do, right?
Mhm.
But something I saw that was a little contradictory to me in this article, right? So you have these high figures of people that are dealing with stress and whatnot, right? But they also mentioned in here, I'm trying to find this paragraph. CISOs largely believe their employers care about their well-being. In fact, 75% said they felt valued by their organizations, but the task in front of IT teams is becoming increasingly daunting, right? So if you really think that your employers care about your well-being, then that should show in other ways, right? It should show in them trying to do things to help you out when it comes to your job, right? They shouldn't still be putting you behind the 8 ball to try to do an impossible task protecting the
Right.
company. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was going to bring that up too. So I think that the two of those don't necessarily intertwine that way. Because I was like, yeah, but you feel valued, but you can still feel valued and still be stressed the hell out. Like maybe you don't think you're going to get fired, but obviously you want to be good at what you do. So
So how are they showing they care about you though, right? Like, so if you think your employer cares about you, it should be in some type of way of how you do your job, right? You can't just come to me and feed me lip service and say, "Hey, you're doing a good job," and I think you really care. You're doing a good job, but I'm not going to give you all the tools you need to do your job, or the
Well, they
person,
might be,
or the
yeah,
money.
but they might. So again, devil's advocate because I'm still active duty, so I'm not out there yet. But they may be giving you all that stuff, but you still got these terrorists attacking you. So you're
That's
just like,
true.
yo, I'm gonna crawl up in this bottle, Jack Daniels. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And then I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but yeah, that also was like, ah, man, the two of those do intertwine, but at the same time, you could still feel value. Like people still, there's certain professions out there when it comes to first responders and things of that nature. But you still got to run in that burning building. There's nothing you can do about that.
No, that you bring up a valid point. That's true. That's just when I read it. That's what came to mind for me, right? I was like, well, if you feel valued, like you should be getting more help. Like it shouldn't be
Right.
lip service. Lip service is not valuing somebody, right? So does my, like, if I go to my wife and she keeps telling me I'm pretty, is it because I'm bringing money in, or because I'm actually? I don't know which one it is. Show me you value me, girl. Slide me
Right.
down.
Hey, that's the thing right there for sure. It's a yeah, it's one of those things though. I think it's just like a what I'm sure a lot of jobs are very stressful in general. I mean, obviously this one's like a very important role um for somebody to have. And then it's interesting, like, I think like I think those are some of the typical things you expect people to kind of do to cope with it, like working out. I think obviously people, need that outlet to kind of let out that aggression or whatever. They get a little frustrated at work, or they feel like really pressured at work. Like you can go like for me, I like the martial arts. So maybe they go hit some pads or something like that, or start like hitting the bag or something like that. It might be a way to release some stress. But I can imagine it being a rough job. I mean, you're in charge of security, and security is just like um, it's like it's everything's great when everything's working properly and everything's secure, like everything's, there's no issue. But as soon as something gets compromised, that's when stuff hits the fan, and all of a sudden everybody's looking at you like, what did you do? Like, why did this happen? Why is my stuff out there? Why do we have no longer have trust with our clientele? Nobody believes what we, that we're doing a good job here. So
Yeah,
that's
but it's like Tommy Boy when they do it, right? Remember when he busts the door off the car? You ever see that at the gas
yeah.
station? He backed
You got
backed
to
the
remind,
car
yeah.
up. So he backed the
Yeah.
car up at the gas station, and it was David Spade's vintage car that he loved so much. He
Yeah.
backed it up because he couldn't reach the pump, and it broke the door. Right.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
then he goes forward and he puts the door back on there, and like nothing's wrong. So when he grabs the door, it comes off. Right. So like your CIO can't come to you and be like, "What'd you do?" Be like, "Well,
Right.
you broke the door first when you wouldn't let me purchase the tools or hire the manpower. Like you
Right.
did this to me. You did this
Right.
to us."
Right. It's true. That's a good analogy right there for sure.
Yeah, and I think so it might be some of the pipeline as well. Like, so again, I'm not there yet. So I get a lot of questions as though I'm already it's sitting in the CISO seat, and I'm definitely not. But I would love to be. So when I saw this article, I did take some caution. I'm like, oh man, that's like, literally you are signing up to be frontline. Like if everything's on fire, you're the person who needs to go in and respond. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire because you did your due diligence. But as we could see this year, people are finding more and more clever ways to break the system. So there's that spy versus spy type situation happening. So I definitely don't want to jump into a career field that causes me to be so stressed out. I want to jump into narcotics. However, coming from active duty military, I mean, you were put into a lot of high stress situations. So I think I've been being crafted or hardened, forged. There you go. I've been being forged for like almost 2 decades. But that's not to say these people are weak. That's not true. I think a lot of it, like to go full circle, I was trying to get to is I think a lot of it is if the field is still so new, we haven't gotten to a point where the structure makes complete sense. Like I've been seeing a lot of people post polls on LinkedIn because LinkedIn polls seem to be a thing now. I hate them. Stop making polls. Everybody got a poll. I've created a couple myself though. I'm not gonna lie, but in it asks like, where should the CISO be positioned? Like, should they be working for this person? Should they be working for that person? So it seems as though CISOs, not necessarily typically, but what I've seen a lot of, work underneath someone else. So like your CISO might be underneath the CIO, or might be underneath somebody else who's underneath the CIO. Your changes might be just that much longer before you get to the board to have your voice heard, and that can be stressful in itself too. Like you could be doing everything you need to do, but if it takes so many layers to finally get to the person who can give you the money, and they don't quite understand what you do or why this is important until they're breached, that in itself can be very stressful, because you're just not in charge of your own destiny at that point. Like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. I put in all the paperwork, I filed all the stuff, I asked for the money, but by the time it got to the CEO, it was too late. We had a breach. So I can see that in itself being kind of stressful.
You bring up a good point, or it's like the game of telephone, right? So like the
Yeah.
more people you pass it through, the messages not get to them the same way, right? And you have to think about the more people you involve, like what are their motives, right? So like me, the way I think about it is like you need as few, like no more than two voices before you get to the CEO, right? The person that's
Yeah.
really going to give you the money or authorize whatever. Because if you get more in there, you don't know if, the chief operations officer, you don't know if he's gunning for a different position to where he doesn't want to give bad news, right? Or if he's trying to save money for whatever reason. So you're just at the bottom of the barrel, right? We're going to spend it on uh, you know, uh, supply chain and building more warehouses other than doing some type of cybersecurity, right? So you don't know the person that pulls the trigger on the money. You don't know what they are actually hearing, by the time it leaves
Right.
your mouth. So
Yeah.
and hey,
So I think that
I'm gonna
Hmm?
clarify something too. I started thinking about this after I said it. When I said slob me down, I didn't mean anything X-rated. I meant like kisses. Okay, I'm a snuggler. All right, so
Okay, okay.
I don't want it to be like this is not some type of porn channel or anything like that.
Right.
They bust slobs. You know what I mean? It's like kissing. That's
Slap.
what I
Yeah,
meant.
okay.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, I got
I
you now.
started thinking about this, and I was like,
Yeah.
if my wife watches this, like,
Hey, I was gonna say I thought the same thing. I was like, oh man, he's taking it to the extreme. I was like, oh, I thought I was bad for saying bootybooty.com, but
no,
Danny took it to a whole nother.
that's what I mean.
But it's not okay. I got you now. That was just a kiss.
I want to
Kisses. Yeah,
clarify.
I like my wife's kisses too. That's good.
But
yeah,
go ahead,
wow.
Brian.
So
I like that. I like that. I'm glad you covered that up.
y'all stupid. But yeah, so I think that in itself could be stressful. I think that maybe we should have or like we, as though I'm there yet. I'm not there yet, but I would love to be. Should have C at the table. I think that would also reduce some of the stress. Obviously, I mean, like money is money. If your company needs to focus their money on something else, there's always that balance. That's why you build your continuity plans and your disaster recovery plans, and you kind of key them into these are the assets that have to be taken care of, and these are the ones that have to be taken care of, but maybe they're not as important, X, Y, and Z. But if you're closer to the person with the money, then these things would make more sense, right? So I think that could be some of it too. And then hackers have had a whole 18 months to get good at what they do. So they just keep getting better and better. So you don't know what to expect, because it's our job is mostly defense, right? We do mostly the defense side of the house. So if you don't have anything offensive happening for several years, and then all of a sudden you get slammed with your dark sides and your iOS attacks that had been taken off, or like Cisco had a bunch of crazy attacks that happen. Like if you don't see these things coming necessarily, or just how crafty they could be, then boom, you get hit with it. So you can do all the plan in the world, but no plan survives contact with the enemy. So there is that.
I mean, these are times to where it is so much worse off than what it used to be, right? Like I just don't think it's ever been as bad in the past as it is now because of
Right.
this pandemic, right? Like it's not like they were dealing with this back in 1918 when the Spanish flu was going around. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not what people had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? There was different things they had to deal with back in that day, but it has not I have not in my lifetime seen it to where it's been this bad when it comes to malware and phishing and different type of cybersecurity incidents and things of that nature. Like this is the peak of how bad it has gotten in our lifetime. So
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker, and he's not into cybersecurity at all. But after me trying to sit there and just explain, because he's obviously he's really intelligent, but he deals with like how planes fly. Not he doesn't care anything about cyber, and I was just trying to correlate it and tie the two together. And he made a good point. He was like, it's like the olden days, like back when they used to do stagecoach robberies and heists. Like that's like the way he attributed it. He was like, it's just such a wild time, because like obviously like you can't rob a bank nowadays and get away with it. Like that's very few and far between. You want some Ocean's 11 stuff, but in cyber you can run down a whole company and get $5 million out of their pocket, $50 million out of their pockets. So like now we have to get as good as the aggressors, which takes time. So to all the CISOs out there, you are loved. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's rough. And I do want your job. I'm gunning for you. But at the same time, I want everybody to be healthy and happy. So obviously, we just need to take those steps and get better at it. And as we talked about last week, like we have new federal guidance coming down with the executive order. They're putting $1 billion into $1 billion of the infrastructure bills that are being passed has been earmarked for cyber. So that's happening. It is definitely being noticed. There's definitely measures being put in place. Obviously, everything lags behind, but at some point, hopefully, there will be parity between the defense and offensive cyber. Yeah. So there's definitely that. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. I'm gonna leave it as is too. I'm not editing nothing.
That's right. And I'm calling Shannon's wife right after this call.
You aired all. I did my retraction. If you aired it all,
I made it in that part.
That part out. Yeah, leave the original.
Now I gotta lose 50% of my stuff because you.
Oh no.
But stay tuned throughout the week. So next episode will be the rundown. Previous episode, which I have not recorded yet, will be Ask Us SP. Keep up with us. Definitely continue to watch the videos, share it with your friends, share the audio. We're on every audio platform that you probably listen to. I say that, maybe not, but then just come to us. We came to as many as we could. Now come to us. But definitely hit up the website, www.theothersideofthefirewall.com, where you can get to our Facebook group, which is pretty active, as well as our Twitter and IG. Twitter, not as much, but my Twitter is pretty active. You catch me at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and IG. And LeVon?
Hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. So stay tuned and stay secure.
Take care.